someone put something upon my house or me or something. Like, I just don't feel right. I don't do it.
What you just witnessed was the moment first responders discovered two children, 6-year-old Maurice and 9-year-old Jaden, shot multiple times in their bedroom. Both boys were still breathing, barely clinging to life after suffering gunshot wounds to their heads. Their mother, 32-year-old Tiffanie Lucas, was found unconscious on a neighbor's driveway just minutes before. She would soon tell the police she loves her boys more than anything in the world. Yet, the evidence would reveal that she was the one who pulled the trigger. What drives a mother to execute her children? And how does someone convince themselves that murder is an act of love? Tiffanie Lucas lived what appeared to be an ordinary life in Bullitt County, Kentucky. A single mother of 2 boys, she had been through her share of struggles. In 2019, her husband became the victim of an unsolved homicide, leaving her to raise Maurice and Jaden alone. The case remains open to this day, with no arrests ever made. What neighbors didn't know was the extent of Lucas's battle with addiction. She had been struggling with opioid dependence for nearly a decade, a problem that began after routine dental work left her with prescription painkillers. As tolerance built, she turned to stronger substances, eventually using fentanyl regularly. Court records revealed that Lucas had previously lost custody of her children in 2018 due to her drug use, though she had regained custody by 2023. Friends and family described her as a devoted mother who was trying to get her life back on track, making the events of November 8th all the more shocking. Tiffanie Lucas was seen in surveillance video at a Waffle House with her children the day before she killed them. The footage shows what appears to be a normal family outing, a mother treating her sons to breakfast, unaware that within 24 hours, both boys would be dead by her hand. In the video, the children appear happy and playful, with no signs of the tragedy that would soon unfold. But beneath Lucas's outward normalcy, paranoia was taking root. She had been clean from drugs for approximately 10 days before the shooting, a period that, while positive for her sobriety, likely intensified withdrawal-induced hallucinations and paranoid thoughts. She became convinced that she and her children were being watched, targeted by what she believed was a human trafficking ring. Neighbors would later report that Lucas had been acting strangely in the days leading up to the shooting. She had been seen pacing in her yard at odd hours, looking up at the sky and making unusual requests to borrow phones to call mysterious numbers that had never seemed to answer. One neighbor specifically recalled her saying that she didn't feel right and that something felt off about her house. November 8th, 2023 started like any other morning in the quiet Shepherdsville neighborhood. But at approximately 11 a.m., that peace was shattered by a frantic 911 call. Lucas's neighbor called 911 on November 8th, 2023, after she showed up and collapsed on the neighbor's driveway. She then started screaming that her children were dying. The caller's husband had gone to check on the children at Lucas's request and made a horrifying discovery. The kid's on the bed. He's all bloody. There's a gun. There are 2 of them. They're breathing. 4 gunshots could be heard on a nearby Ring doorbell camera. Roughly 4.5 minutes after the last gunshot is heard, Lucas can be seen leaving her home in a confused, almost trance-like state. When first responders arrived, they found Lucas unconscious on her neighbor's driveway, covered in her urine. Inside the home, Maurice and Jaden lay dying in their bedroom, each suffering from multiple gunshot wounds to the head. The room was in complete disarray, clothing and personal items scattered everywhere, creating a chaotic scene that initially suggested a violent home invasion. But investigators quickly noticed what was missing. No broken windows, no damaged doors, no evidence that anyone other than the family had been in the home that morning. Inside a bedroom in the house in that 200 block of Bentwood Drive, they found her sons, ages 6 and 9, suffering from gunshot wounds. The weapon, a handgun, was found hidden beneath pillows on the bed where the children had been shot. 4 shell casings were recovered from the scene, suggesting the boys had been shot while they slept. As paramedics worked frantically to stabilize the children for transport, Lucas remained semi-conscious outside, occasionally muttering incoherent statements about feeling not right and claiming someone had put something on her house. At the police station, Lucas's behavior became increasingly erratic. During a routine metal detector screening, she made a statement that would confirm investigators' suspicions. "I shot myself in the head." When medics examined her, no gunshot wound was found, but the statement revealed Lucas's intent to harm herself after shooting her children. She would later explain that the gun had jammed when she tried to turn it on herself. During the interrogation, Lucas presented a bizarre defense. She claimed a man named Parker Borders had been manipulating her mind through her phone and electronic devices for years, forcing her to commit the murders. "I just feel like someone put something up on my house or me," she told detectives. "I don't do this. I don't care." When pressed about this mysterious figure, Lucas provided disturbing details. She claimed Borders lived in Bardstown, Kentucky, and had been controlling her thoughts for approximately 3 years. She even alleged that a friend of hers who had been involved with Borders had died in a suspicious car accident. The police found no evidence to support any of these claims. "I just feel like those games manipulate the children, the YouTube, and just, haven't you ever heard anything like that before?" Lucas told investigators, referring to her belief that video games and internet content were being used to control minds. Her paranoid delusions extended to technology in general, as she believed her phone, Wi-Fi, and even PlayStation games were all tools being used against her family. What made Lucas's claims particularly unsettling was her absolute conviction in their truth. She wasn't lying or attempting to deceive. She genuinely believed every word she was saying. When detectives asked if she remembered firing the weapon, she initially denied it completely. "It's not correct. I just don't know. I have no words." Tiffanie Lucas, 33, of Shepherdsville, admitted to shooting her 6-year-old son Maurice and 9-year-old son Jaden in the head in November 2023, but her admission came wrapped in delusions and claims of external manipulation. Eventually, when confronted with the impossibility of her claims, Lucas began to break down. The detective skillfully guided her toward admitting her role while acknowledging her mental state. "But physically, you're the one who pulls the trigger, even though that's not you and somebody else is pushing you to do that. You pulled the trigger on the weapon, is that correct?" After much resistance, Lucas finally admitted the shooting was an accident, her way of reconciling her actions with her belief that she would never hurt her children. "I would hope so," she whispered when asked if it was accidental, before declaring she didn't want to talk anymore. "I love my children. I love my boys so much," Lucas repeatedly told investigators, showing no apparent understanding of the contradiction between her words and her actions. "I wouldn't hurt them, but I just feel like someone put something upon my house or me." Forensic analysis revealed only Lucas's fingerprints on the weapon, and no evidence supporting the existence of Parker Borders or any external manipulation. Phone records showed no unusual activity or contact with unknown individuals. The investigation revealed that Lucas had been off drugs for approximately 10 days before the shooting, a period that likely intensified her withdrawal-induced paranoia and hallucinations. She believed she was protecting her children from a human trafficking ring that she was convinced was targeting their family. Initially, Lucas pleaded not guilty, and Lucas's attorney filed a motion in her case informing the court that they planned to argue Lucas was legally insane at the time of the murders. The insanity defense seemed logical given her documented drug history and paranoid delusions. However, the case took an unexpected turn on November 22, 2024, when Tiffanie Lucas pleaded guilty to murder in the deaths of 6-year-old Maurice and 9-year-old Jaden. The change in plea came after extensive psychological evaluation and likely reflected the strength of evidence against her. Despite her claims of manipulation and mental illness, the physical evidence was overwhelming. During the sentencing hearing, family members delivered emotional victim impact statements. Tiffanie Lucas not only murdered Jaden and Maurice, but she forever scarred the lives of their family and friends, both adults and children, Taylor said in court. Applause broke out in a Kentucky courtroom on Friday after Lucas received 2 life sentences for the murders. The judge imposed the maximum sentence possible under Kentucky law. 2 consecutive life sentences with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Lucas will be eligible for parole in 2043, meaning she will serve at least 20 years before any chance of release. The sentence reflects the severity of the crime and the court's recognition that, regardless of her mental state, she had taken 2 innocent lives. The Tiffanie Lucas case forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about mental illness, addiction, and the limits of maternal love. Here was a woman who genuinely believed she was protecting her children, yet her protection took the form of execution-style murders in their beds. The medical examiner's report revealed the full horror of what occurred that morning. Both children died from multiple gunshot wounds to the head, fired at close range while they were likely sleeping. Maurice, just 6 years old, and Jaden, 9, never had a chance to understand what was happening or why their mother, the person they trusted most in the world, had become their killer. In the aftermath, the community struggled to make sense of the tragedy. Neighbors who had seen Lucas with her children described her as a caring mother who was always attentive to their needs. Teachers at the boys' school remembered them as happy, well-cared-for children who showed no signs of abuse or neglect. The disconnect between the mother they knew and the woman who committed these murders was impossible to reconcile. Lucas's extended family members spoke at her sentencing hearing, their words heavy with grief and incomprehension. Tiffanie Lucas not only murdered Jaden and Maurice, but she forever scarred the lives of their family and friends, both adults and children, one relative stated. The ripple effects of her actions extended far beyond the immediate victims, touching everyone who had known and loved the boys. The tragedy extends beyond the immediate victims. Maurice and Jaden Howard Baker were just 6 and 9 years old, their lives cut short by the person who should have been their greatest protector. Their extended family continues to grapple with a loss that defies comprehension. How does one process that children died not at the hands of a stranger, but by their own mother's choice? Lucas's case also highlights the devastating intersection of untreated addiction and mental illness. Her decade-long struggle with opioids created a perfect storm of paranoia and delusion that ultimately consumed not just her life, but the lives of her children. It raises difficult questions about mental health resources, intervention strategies, and the warning signs that might have prevented this tragedy. Perhaps most unsettling is Lucas's continued insistence that she loved her boys. In her mind, the murders were an act of love, a twisted attempt to save them from a threat that existed only in her drug-addled imagination. It's a reminder that mental illness doesn't always look like what we expect, and that love, when filtered through paranoia and psychosis, can become something unrecognizable and deadly. This case remains a stark warning about the importance of mental health intervention and the tragic consequences when untreated illness intersects with access to firearms. 2 children are dead. A mother will spend most of her remaining years in prison, and a family is left to piece together how love became murder on a quiet November morning in Kentucky. In the end, Tiffanie Lucas destroyed everything she claimed to cherish most, leaving behind only questions that may never have satisfying answers. What's your take on this case? Do you believe Tiffanie Lucas was a victim of her mental illness, or was there something more calculating behind her actions? The intersection of addiction, paranoia, and maternal instincts raises difficult questions about culpability and justice. Share your thoughts in the comments below, but remember, 2 young lives were lost, so let's keep the discussion respectful.